CVMAX on your screen, looking pretty serious. As, yeah, Afrika probably wondering about what the nameplates are doing here as we check out Destroy, about to make his debut here. He's been playing for the Challenger or Academy roster for quite some time here for DRX, but hasn't had a whole lot of experience. I remember when he came onto the roster, and I remember thinking, oh, I wonder who this guy is. And then I sort of didn't think about it again because Kingen was good, and Rascal was good, and things like this, you know? I don't know whether he actually played behind Rascal ever, but it has been a while since he joined the squad.
Yeah, I think his last game was last year, if I remember correctly. That was against Team Dynamics, a team that is obviously...
yeah, was that spring or was that summer?
It was April, so it was actually spring. So
yeah,
it has actually
so spring
been...
Challenger 2020.
Yes, that was the last we saw.
It is, but maybe that's going to help. Maybe that's all we need. As you can see Fly here, I actually am a bit upset by the fact that his headphone cord goes over his body like a sash. It's sort of not the greatest way to do it, so hopefully he fixes that one up.
Whose hair is more majestic, Pioshik's or Fly's? Because I think they're getting to pretty similar lengths.
Yeah, that is actually true.
It's a tough question.
I feel like Fly's is a little bit more flowing, if that makes sense. Oh, this guy's going to military service in a couple of days.
2 days. And you spend one of your last days.
At least he's happy bee about it.
Yeah,
and that's actually a really good drawing. Does he have a stencil?
No.
Is he just a really good drawer?
Oh man, did you see the band that someone drew on Friday? It was insane. Like someone drew the T1 band in like in silhouette. It was so good.
Damn, that's
It was all done with Sharpie. It's insane. These people, man. It's crazy.
Too much talent. Too much talent in our audience.
So good that they're here.
I know.
They're not in the amounts that we'd like them to be there, you know, but still.
One day. Looks like there is a little bit of a delay getting into the pick and ban. It might be Afrika saying, what the heck's happening on the other side of the rift? That makes sense. Apparently that last sign was saying blaming others is okay. Don't trust teammates, trust yourself.
That's a solo queue player right there.
Yeah, I was going to say that is the worst solo queue advice I've ever heard. Or maybe it's good. Maybe it's good solo queue advice and terrible advice for life.
I don't even know if it's good solo queue advice, to be honest.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. It sounds like a not the greatest way to live, but maybe it's the safest way to live. I don't know. Okay, here we are. Finally, we are in ban and pick. Akali has also finally been banned away. That will be taken away first here by DRX. I always find it interesting, right? Because DRX are on blue side, and you often associate DRX with the team that had, you know, Rascal and Chovy, and like, you'd think Akali would be first pickable, but no, that's not the team anymore, and they have two top laners now. And Akali in the wheelhouse, but not necessarily what they're going to be going for this time. As Gwen, they passed the test, taking it away.
I was actually wondering whether they were like, okay, Destroy, you're going to go into a skill matchup on Keen. We're just going to first pick you Gwen. Good luck, buddy. Have fun with Keen. And then see how that goes for the first match. But I think this is the safer choice. My expectation is that they're going to put Keen or Destroy Redder on something like the Gnar, if they can then find it. Although even that, like I say the Gnar as in like it's a kind of safe pick, but then you're playing into probably like Keen or Aurelia, and that's not good at all, because even our best top laners have issues with that. So it's just, this is an issue that DRX I think need to solve in this draft. There's the option of flexibility, there's the option of going for like, obviously Lulu not available, but the Karma top lane is still one that can really neutralize lanes very well. So a pickup here would not surprise me, but
Renekton gets through for, I feel like, what is the first time?
Yeah, that's
Are we going to see what happened in the LEC last night? Which was the Olaf response.
I did really appreciate the Olaf. That is a very good way to go.
It didn't work, but it was cool. You know?
Works for me,
yeah.
honestly. I like it. They have the Karma as well. Karma Olaf, you know, it's...
Oh, there we go.
However, playing...
They had Karma Olaf. Did they have the Karma Lulu that game as well? I'm trying to remember what Fnatic did.
Not 100% sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Cog Lulu bot lane.
There you go.
And it was Karma mid, I think. Anyway, it's going to be an Udyr, so we don't even need to worry about it. Udyr Karma, another fantastic combo. As maybe the collective can let me know. Let me check.
Pioshik Nidalee? Question mark? It is the Renekton. Taliyah is also an available pick. I know people don't really like it, but with the Renekton specifically, I still think it's a fine champion. Also able to be played, but the Nidalee is a staple.
Yep.
It's the most basic choice. It's one that works well, and I actually would not be shocked to see a set pick up here, and then you can flex that set around, you can throw him to support, but instead it will be Nautilus, and that's really interesting to me because I think that picking up something that's a bit more flexible or picking up your support with an AD carry makes more sense because Nautilus, in my opinion, doesn't actually work like Ezreal Nautilus, right? It's not something you're going to be super excited about, it's just kind of there. It's not great. And Kai'Sa probably not going to make it through if you go face up with the Nautilus, as it's an Ezreal Karma lane for a Afrika. Leon Lahan's looking like they're going to have a lot of fun here, if it is a support Karma, which I kind of think it goes very well off the edge.
I'm assuming it's mid. Because historically, Karma has been one of Fly's best champions that he's ever played. And in fact, in supportive mid lane metas, Fly's been one of our good mid laners. But because the meta moved away from his playstyle so drastically, it's been very difficult for him to really find himself, you know? And so I'm expecting it to go mid. But of course, Ezreal Karma is an extraordinarily strong lane.
That's the main thing, and I would not hate to see Fly in it. Then you probably end up with like a Leona, makes sense. With the Ezreal, it's quite nice. But if you do go for the Karma Ezreal, you will mitigate a lot of the weaknesses that Ezreal naturally has in the early game. Also, Lahen's on Enchanters is just always a treat. Even though we have differing opinions on how much skill oppression there actually is in Karma. That's okay. You know, we take it as we see the Kalista ban come through, and it's an interesting one. I feel like with this composition specifically, it makes a lot of sense because this is, there's the Kai'Sa ban as we mentioned previously. This is as face up of a we're going to stomp you in 25 minutes composition as possible.
Yes.
And in that regard, I would actually like to see Afrika pick away the set, or champions like it, because the more dive and like setup and skirmishing power you give this DRX lineup, the harder it's going to be for you to actually play the video game.
I'm very interested in what's going to be picked up next, because they could pick up the support, but then they're saying that Karma is definitely going into the mid lane. Ooh, Rumble would have been interesting, because Fly does play that one. Although I guess you're not flexing the Udyr, and Fly is going to go back to one of his favorites. And this is going to be a double augmented Dread Udyr.
Yeah.
Think about that. That's a lot of speedy bear situation going on.
But how much fun are you having if you're Orianna and you're playing into Kingan's Renekton with Pioshik on Nidalee? Like that doesn't seem great to me. It's something that I'd be moderately worried about. If they are going to go that direction, obviously, we don't know yet. And ideally, you pick a flex here where you can still flex both these two picks either way, because you know we could have seen this coming, right? The R5 counter pick for Keen. That's not shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. And yeah, there we go. Very, very nice. Now you can flex both of these depending on the matchup that you get in topside. Of course, Zed and Renekton somewhat similar in terms of matchup spreads.
Yeah, maybe the Orianna was a mistake, because that could have been set picked right there, and we know that Fly, Keen, and Lahen's can all play it, theoretically. Ooh. So a lot of switching could happen, as there's the Gangplank. Definitely a fantastic matchup into Renekton, but also won't do too badly into the set, I guess. We'll have to see how it does go, as Keen is, of course, a different breed, so maybe matchups matter a little bit less.
Yeah, I am a bit apprehensive of the Afrika draft here, because I feel like the way that they guaranteed win this game, they feel still very much good, because this is an amazingly scaling team composition. You're always going to have a window back into the game, right? You have Ezreal, which is one of the strongest teamfight AD carries. Orianna is always solid, even though in the meta right now she's not the best. You have an immobile AD carry on the other side, without any peel, into a Gangplank and a Udyr, with multiple speed-ups. Like, all that is great. But if you look at the laning pressure and the amount of objectives that the DRX should be able to pick up with Prio in basically every lane, outside of like the early matchup for the Renekton into the Gangplank, I think it's going to be a really rough one. It's really going to be holding on tight for Afrika, and that's not, in my opinion, where they excel the most.
No, but if they do make it to like 30 minutes into the game without a 10k gold deficit, yeah, you're right. I mean, we've seen what Ezreal's do, and I was very vocal about it in our last series. And it's probably, you know, on the cards to be happening again. This Frozen Heart Ezreal is just revolting.
How much AP is there on the other side? And the answer is barely any. It's just Bioshik on Nidalee, which if he doesn't have a good game and Leo gets the Frozen Heart, as you say, it's basically game.
Well, we'll just have to see how it goes. DRX have their very weird and wonderful roster situation. They've picked 2 top laners, I guess, theoretically, in this game. 2 bruisers, which is what we were expecting based on the outcome. Renekton, extraordinarily strong at this point in time, and Keen has decided to answer it with the Gangplank, as we've seen plenty of times in the past. As Destroy makes his debut, like, this is out of the furnace into the fire, if ever I've seen it, you know? Very difficult to make your debut against Keen. However, sometimes you got to get straight into the deep end, and you can't blame him. Let's see how he's actually going to go. He's been given the best tool, theoretically, the extraordinarily almost permabanned Renekton.
In that regard, it is quite nice, and the main thing to me is what I think the Gangplank is really strong, and you know, it's Keen. If anyone can gap any matchup, regardless of situation, probably him. And, this is
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if it goes very well for Destroy, actually.
No, it doesn't.
Because
The
level 1
passive
Gangplank
is just dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a roughie. However, it is Grasp into Conqueror, so at least Destroy gets a bit of Conqueror value. And they are even on health, so there we go. I'll try my best to become the starting player. Well, let's see whether Destroy can do it. Of course, played on a few of our challenger teams before heading in, but has been with the DRX org for quite some time.
And it's like they're both really looking here. What Destroy is doing right now is also going to be the main nerf that's coming through on Renekton on the next patch, where his sustain of going for an empowered kill the meek on the wave is not going to be nearly as strong. But
I feel like that's been nerfed like 7
Oh yeah, it has been. Yeah. It's never enough, you know, with the proc. As it turns out, a point-and-click stun. I mean, it's not even point-and-click, you know, it's just an auto attack.
Indeed.
It's just always good in a game where you can get blown up in half a second, and Destroy is getting the bounce, and now hopefully makes his way out of there, because I'm pretty sure they didn't spot Dread, considering he hasn't gone to his Raptors yet. But he honestly should be looking to get like the bounce and then let the wave shove back into him, because really need to respect.
Oh no. Well, I think Destroy's dead, ladies and gentlemen. That is not exactly how you want things to go in your first game, but Keen really asserting his dominance, and I don't think anyone's surprised.
We're not. And unfortunately, better men have fallen against Keen, and it's...
hey, at least he didn't die 2 times in a row within 20 seconds.
I mean,
teleport's
coming in, Atlas.
Oh no!
That's with that one.
Now that's a cast a curse if ever I've seen one, as Keen is also teleported back. He's got Sheen on his first back, and guys, it's over. The top lane is not in a great spot. However, I mean, still Renekton, so maybe there's that, but as you can see, oh god. Is this something that we're going to have to like message Jonah Strong and say, no, can we just keep that off the screen?
They're really, really honing in it as well, which actually made me believe preemptively, like there's obviously like the trading is not enough action in of itself, and yeah, Keen sees the early game Renekton, and he's like, but you have no health. And I've won the trades, and what are you doing?
Even dings 3 so that he can have some celebratory oranges as soon as he gets some mana for it.
It's
fantastic.
Yeah. On the plus side, this in of itself doesn't completely mold the lane. Obviously, Destroy's not going to have a fun time, but maybe if you get a nice gank with a big wave stack, you can take the gank back down. Diving always remains the availability, especially with something like the set available. But what I'm seeing here right now is DRX, who are 700 gold behind with a composition that is on a very tight clock.
Yeah.
And that's not great.
It will involve Bioshik needing to get around the map, right? And Destroy... Oh, wait, no, oranges exist. So, never mind. The top lane's still going to be very, very hard regardless of jungler interaction. And the problem with this isn't the fact that Destroy's getting pushed in. It's the fact that Gangplank gets to have a free laning phase and just gets to build all of his really fun items and have a great time. And, yeah, Destroy's I mean, it's 2 more bullets and he dies. As there's the flash forward, passage there. Destroy's going to flash for fun, and Keen is going to get a solo kill under the turret.
I know he's going to get a POG this game, Atlas.
I'm sorry for not being like super excited about that, but I think we all saw it. We all saw the play.
We saw it coming, and
oh no.
Yeah.
Well, Dread is now just going to run away. He'll be absolutely fine. And I think this is what a lot of the fears were. We saw the roster a little bit earlier today, and I was thinking, look, I get it, but I also don't at the same time.
Everything about this as well, right? Like, he has the corrupting pot ticking. He knows he's going to ding 6 for the extra health, and even if he doesn't need it, he can always throw down the ultimate. It's just perfect play.
Well, there's the flash face breaker. Pyoshik's here as well. Shockwave onto a couple as Fly's going to flash and get himself out of the way. So a trade of flashes there in the mid lane. Not able to quite find the kill onto the Orianna, but is going to be a much more juicy target now.
And it was we talked about high risk, high reward, right? Bring and destroy in. And the thing is, I think you get away with this against a lot of LCK top laners, because even though we have a lot of good ones, not all of them are really as punishing. I think some comes to mind.
Like, there's very few players in the world that are Keen, right?
Well,
like,
yeah.
I think Keen is definitely a rare breed of top laner.
Well, I agree, but even someone like Khan, who I think is an expert top laner, to me, I wouldn't expect him to like bully someone out of lane to such an extent necessarily, right? Because his value comes from how well he plays team fights and how he moves around the map. Whereas Keen, it's
6.5 minutes into the game!
And this is something that I kind of understand from DRX's perspective, but also in my opinion is Destroy is also being left out to dry here, right? Because he is getting no help.
I mean, in Pyoshik's defense, what do you do?
Well,
you can't angle losing lane that hard, right?
Because at this point, if you get counter ganked, you lose the game.
Yeah.
Or if it's Keen, so maybe you find some 1v2 outplay. You don't know. It's just all
I mean, that's still the same result, right? It's just, you could lose the game or lose the game even more than that.
And that's why you need to rotate King in. But they don't really want to do that. You can't, like, Orianna will shove you in fairly quickly. It's not like the set has that much of an easy time getting prio. So in that case, you know, when in doubt, I guess just dive bot lane.
Well, Kingen is looking for it. That dredge line was very interesting based on the wall positioning, and Kingen's actually going to be in a little bit of trouble here. Thankfully, Haymaker is one heck of an ability, and yeah, doesn't really... He's not going to die, but also they're not going to be able to find any joy onto this this bottom lane of the Afrika Freaks. Oh,
it's looking like pure disaster, Atlas. I don't have any other words for it.
Every single pellet from that gun is just, it's straight through the heart, isn't it? It's so hard for Destroy right now. And you really feel for the guys. True Shot Barrage, bow. Ooh, not going to get hit by any of the subsequent abilities. Thankfully, the auto attack is going to land there from Leo, but this is just putting on pressure, right? Doesn't really matter if you miss a couple of those. They still have so much power in this lane. As even Fly feeling pretty good here in this mid lane, 15 CS in the lead, as Pyoshik is going to come around again. As Fly Dissonance speeds himself back and is, oh, okay. I thought he was going to go and try and ward deep there. Yeah. That would have been very dangerous as Keen eats some oranges and continues shooting the Crocodile.
I was saying that DRX was in the clock and like, oh, they have this lane pressure, but that's, yeah, he's not really there. You need to skirm as well.
Indeed. Well, Destroy is looking to try and get himself back something. Pops the Dominus and now doesn't have that available as Keen is going to move on down here, spotted by the ward. Destroy will actually have some space here as Chronicler's head in hands right now, wondering how the heck he's supposed to talk about the rest of this game after the Crocodile abuse that has happened at the beginning.
And the Gangplank into Renekton matchup is one where it is actually, it's a really solid matchup, right, for the Gangplank. There's a reason why that pick comes through often. Yeah. You can deal really, you win the early game, the first couple of levels, but then ideally the Renekton obviously doesn't die, you know, picks up Tabis on an early back, which he just got those now. And that's very late with the Kindle Gem. And then you can still set up plays. Obviously, the Renekton combination is going to be a little bit harder, but once all abilities are used by the Gangplank, he is still diveable. He is squishy. Once you actually get on top of him and you have the damage, the dominus, you can still get through him, or you can rotate King and up the top side. But the problem is, that matchup was won so hard by Keen that is no longer an option. He's also gone for
He went for a Trinity Force?
Oh my...
Wow.
I kind of get it.
Maybe that's to say, like, Divine Sunder is too strong. Come on, let's make a game of it.
I think Divine Sunderer rather is really solid in terms of it gives you the additional sustain, right? It's really good in terms of max health. But if you're just continuously fighting, I think Triforce still has a lot of value. And in this scenario, Keen is just going to be up in Destroy's face permanently, and this is not ideal for Destroy, but also, can we really blame him? I kind of feel like we can't. Like, I don't really want to necessarily, because it felt inevitable the moment that we saw this. And it was like, okay, DRX, so you're going to sack top lane. Like, what else are you getting? And the answer currently is nothing. They lost the Drake. They didn't get the Rift Herald, which is, of course, understandable considering the topside pressure. We're approaching 11 minutes, and neither the Sats nor the Nidalee have been able to find anything. Yeah, I guess Bao's up 8 CS, so that's... I mean, the wave's crashing, so he's going to be up like 2 CS. So
I mean, Fly is almost up 20 CS right now.
Yes, because it is Fly Orianna.
It is indeed. And this is, you know, like we were talking about. Fly, when he gets on Comfort Champions, has always been... He's like Crown. If you remember back in 2017, Crown was like our Malzahar guy. He was the mastery player. He was the guy that knew how to play like 3 or 4 champions extraordinarily well. And Fly is the same thing, but now it's about breadth, right? As Destroy, yeah, you wouldn't be able to be doing that next patch, tell you that much. As no, he's now looking for a back. In fact, he can't do it now, right?
He's also still not doing it this patch.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, we've gone a patch into the future. Ooh,
actually,
that's a
you know, one good thing that comes out of this game is that I guess we can talk about Malzahar again now that Akali's so broken. Maybe that's something that needs to make a...
Hey, yeah, there we go.
Needs to come back into the meta.
I mean, Fly was pretty good at the Malzahar too.
Yeah, because outside of that, I feel kind of bad because this is vintage Afrika. And with this composition, it's not the type of composition where I'm like, maybe the Afrika effect kicks in, you know, maybe past 20 minutes they're going to start making mistakes like, look at the champions on the right side, Atlas, it's an Ezreal and Orianna. And
a Karma. I mean, the only thing that doesn't ultra scale is the Udyr, but Udyr has Orianna and Karma to augment him in the later stage, and we're seeing the power here as the Gangplank's there with the Cannon Barrage. There's a Shockwave. Keen's also just going to follow on through. Fly's gifted over the kill because Keen likes to share the wealth, and Destroy was walking down the river and is now going to eat some honey fruit, sadly. And now Afrika going to start off this Drake, and the whole map belongs to Afrika. They're able to do absolutely whatever they want. This is actually, right now, this is the biggest stump that we've seen so far.
Yeah. So how's the Korean lessons going?
Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
Inevitable segue there because...
Yeah, how about you? We're about to have our first in-person classes. We have them every Tuesday. A little bit nervous about leaving the house, but very excited to get to some more learning. Hopefully we can learn what Gangplank destroys Renekton is in Korean.
That would be cool.
Because I'd like to have a conversation with Cloud Templar about that after this game. Because this is definitely just, it's just not very fair.
Yeah, it's hard. Like I said,
2,000 gold.
I think the amount of knowledge that you must have to like pilot this matchup early very well against a player like Keen, like that's a really high barrier to match. But it's also like this is Destroy's first game, right? But going in level 1 on Renekton against the Gangplank is just not something that's ever going to work out for you. Like in the long trades, eventually you're going to have to run away because Trial by Fire is so strong, and then he's just going to get like 1 or 2 and Grasp Empowered procs off on you. And there's just never a way where really you win that early on in the matchup. And it's not a good look for Destroy, but at the same time, like everything that subsequently happened, I feel is also this big game. Like this lane specifically was basically over like a minute in against a player like Keen, and that's something that's upsetting. But if you're Destroy, you're just looking forward to okay, I messed up, just need to not let it get to me. As Yeah, he's oh god, that damage.
It's just ridiculous. He's got himself his serrated Dirk now, probably building towards the Collector, which is the most popular second item when you do go for the Trinity Force build. Cool thing about Gangplank is that there are a lot of builds floating around at the moment.
Many.
You can still go Shield Bow, Essence Reaver if you would like to. The Divine Sunderer, of course, is something that a lot of people have been heading towards. And Titanic Hydra. It's just, it feels like every item that helps you hit stuff is just really good. Shockwave going to land onto Pyosik here, who's just burning down. Dread actually respecting Becca's rotation, though, a lot. Pyosik still had Flash, so they're not going to go for it. Primal Surge also can make things a bit misleading as Pyosik uses it right then. Dread walks into the spear, which ain't great, but Lehen's over here as well, just to make sure that Becca can't go for any sort of engage. And Afrika continuing to have answers here to everything that DRX are trying to do.
At least there was no grasp, so it could have been worse there for Destroy.
Yeah, there we go.
It's something. And this is a hard one. You have a composition that doesn't scale exceptionally well on the side of DRX. And I think you could still win a skirmish if someone is horribly out of position and you blow them up and then you kind of go from there. And do not forget, we saw Dumb Kia win with basically a composition like this, like 40 minutes into the game. But then the issue arises that DRX isn't Dumb Kia, and it's
and I also yeah.
It's also like, look at who they're playing against. It's so hard, right? Because I want to find openings here, Atlas. I really do.
No, there is none. We've got to be honest. I mean, this game's over, right?
It should be, but there is, like, on one hand, DRX excel at long games. So if this game somehow, for some reason, unknown reason goes on for like 20 more minutes, and Afrika used to have a problem closing out games. If those two factors coincide, and like the weather is right, and all like the planets align, then maybe there is a timeline.
Or Keen didn't get enough sleep last night.
Yeah.
Falls asleep right now.
And then they tilt, but the fact that we're going into such extremes says a lot about the state of the match. I would personally say, yeah. But that's okay.
I did appreciate your optimism.
Yeah.
I really like it. I really like it.
You got to go for it. But realistically, this is a outstanding composition that has found a free kick gold lead near the game, as well as 2 Drakes, is about to hit Soul Point. And if you look at the item spikes, I don't think there's any way that you fight this. DRX also clearly not really in the mindset to get that done. Shoved in mid lane, shoved in on bot lane. Teleport is available though.
Yep, Serpent's Fang also completed now as Kingan's going to dive on in. Facebreaker onto Dread, who's just going to get some boots there, but there's the 2-man Shockwave. Cannon Barrage going to land. Pyosik immediately exhausted as the True Shot Barrage is going to sail by majestically. Unfortunately, DRX had already backed away, so it's not going to find any joy. And this is what Afrika can do. They just press the Cannon Barrage button, and any sort of engage is just said no to.
First turret blood just picked up by Keen. What a surprise. What a surprise. Keen does it again. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. And,
I feel like
we're at Soul Point now as well.
I feel like this is where we do actually pivot back into the Korean lesser conversation. I feel like that's the most...
No. This is where we start talking about perfect game.
Thank you.
And making sure that Afrika hold on to the perfect game. So if anyone dies, if they lose a Herald, they lose a turret. Do they have, I think, did they lose any plates at all?
Based on the health of the turrets, I'd say I don't...
It's a bit of a no,
I don't think so.
They didn't take all of the plates, though, so I guess it's
maybe bot side. I think bot side, I might have lost 1 or 2 plates.
Yeah, the perfect dist game is where you lose no plates, take all of their plates, never die, take all the heralds, take all the dragons.
Yeah.
And all the barons.
But they did get Shirley, or Shelly rather. I don't think... yeah, they just got Shirley as well. So
yeah, and then they got both heralds. They got
they're sorted there. The Shell sisters. Yeah, so no one needs to die, which with this composition honestly should not be that hard. DRX is going to try and engage on you, and then you press really any of the buttons. You have Karma Shield, you have Orianna Ultimate, you have a beautiful...
It still could be difficult, right? Because there is pick potential from DRX. They landed Chains of Corruption, things like that. There is a chance that one person dies this game. So Afrika needs to be very careful.
I was very worried for a second there because I thought you were talking about actual team fights. But when it comes to individual
no. I'm saying that in a team fight, they may not perfectly ace the opponent. Yeah, that's a fair bit of damage.
Damage!
You just, I don't know, man. It's just some Keen thing.
I think we can after this first game, and I'm not one to usually go for results-based analysis, but I think Keen is really good, and I was on board with the idea of swapping out Kingen because I really like Kingen as a player, and I was willing to give Destroy the benefit of the doubt. But I'm starting to feel like it might have been too risky, and it is getting punished.
I think perhaps a mistake may have been made.
There is a distinct possibility. This is. I want to be very clear in my phrasing. There is a distinct possibility that a mistake has been made by DRX in their risk assessment.
Yes.
And currently they are experiencing the adverse results of said faulty risk assessment.
Yes, I think perhaps, yeah, a mistake has been made. Just to translate, I think he might have been speaking Dutch then. I'm not entirely sure, but yes, mistakes were made.
That bad? Oh my god.
No, it was great. It was absolutely fine. I just wanted to make it a little bit more succinct for you, but that's okay.
Oh, that's good. That's helpful. Like this game, you mean? Because
yes.
2.5 minutes, presumably, it's going to be the end of that one.
It's a 4,500 gold lead. And we are still at perfect game pace. 2 minutes until Infernal Soul is available here. And I just want to add, have we had like one Cloud Soul this whole season?
Yeah, it's been amazing. And to add to that, this is the first game that we've had that was this one-sided. I think actually the LCK thus far has been super good. We've had a lot of competitive games, back and forths, and even games where teams fell behind. It felt like there was still the opportunity to come back. Yeah. Obviously, KT just getting a huge win. So all those developments are great, but you kind of knew that there was going to be a classic LCK game at some point.
Yeah, and I don't think this is necessarily classic LCK. This is just a stomp, enough. Right? I think classic LCK is like, nothing. It would be 0-0-0-0 instead of 0-0-3-3 5k gold lead situation.
I respect that.
But I do understand what you're talking about because we haven't had a one-sided affair like this in quite some time. We have to remember as well that Afrika have started off the season 1-0 after Frederick Brion also had a pretty good debut game. And so, certainly good news for them. And I think a lot of people, in their heart of hearts, want Afrika to be good. You know? As no more perfect game. Oh my goodness.
They lost the turret.
So our producer just wrote this on our prompter, and when I saw, okay, meanwhile there is a bit of a fight here. The fight's over.
There is a fight. No, never mind.
Yeah,
no fight.
Leo pressed his arcane shift, flash and heal buttons, and he was K. Now Dread is just running pretty aggressively into the enemy jungle. Bao in a lot of trouble. That's an optimistic teleport from Keen, or is it? Bao's really dead. Oh, Keen's put into the bouncy castle though and is taken down. Goodbye perfect game yet again. As the Gangplank does throw his life away. Now Destroy. Oh no. This is handbag territory right now. He's looking to taxi through onto Lahens, who is now in a host of trouble. Okay, I take it all back. Maybe, just maybe it's the turnaround. As Afrika Freaks still liking their opportunities, but it's 4 versus 3. Leo needs to get some work done. That's a 2-man shockwave though. Beautiful stuff from Fly, who now wants to take down Pyoshik. Destroy might be the consolation prize, and absolutely is. So, the wallets were very heavy. Afrika certainly with a few whoopsies there in that little exchange, but they'll still get the Infernal Soul, and they're still on track to winning this game.
Every Afrika fan, they saw that moment and were like, no, not like last
Some clenching definitely happened.
Not again. But they recuperate. That teleport from Keen is obviously not going to stop him from getting the PhD for this game, but it was very optimistic, not necessary at all. The best part about this teleport is that if the rest of his team actually follows up immediately, this doesn't even matter. But instead, it spreads them out, right? It's a miscommunication, and we have Fly on one side, and then the rest on a different one. This is actually super well played by Destroyed, even through the exhaust, right? He knows the rest of his team is coming up, uses Lahens to taxi out of there, and they play this really, really well. But as you said, while we were getting excited, Fly and Leo are just like full health, and like they are never ever winning this, because they did use absolutely everything to just get on top. And that was also why, if I see how that works...
Oh, yeah. Okay, here's another fight. This might... Oh my goodness. Okay, well, goodbye bottom lane.
As I was saying, before I got rudely interrupted by, Afrika running all over DRX.
They are indeed. Shirilda's Grudge now completed for Keen, who has 3 items done. That's double the items that Destroy has. Completed. 202 just quietly for Keen, for Fly, sorry, as well. And the Baron is well and truly dead. Neutral objectives, certainly something that they've had a monopoly on, as Leo looking for Hyoshik here, who is just going to pounce past. Leo just missing a few of these, as the spear is not going to be missed, but still there is an Inspire Shield from Lehens, and he's just going to wander his way out. Let's have a look at how this all started, as Dread ran on in, and Cannon Barrage is going to make things really, really rough for Bauernbecker.
And here we see the power of the composition, and why going into this game we were like, you know, if you get to the late game as a Freak of Freaks on even footing or relatively behind, you give up a Drake or 2, you scale into your 2-item spikes, then this is normally where this composition should really start to shine. Where the early game advantage that the DRX have been able to build up kind of here is
King is on some vision. Showstopper is going to get some space there as he goes golden just to celebrate for a few moments and delay the inevitable.
That's a JoJo pose if I've ever seen one. Really appreciate that from King and giving us something to talk about, you know? It was actually perfect.
Oh, okay. That's why he's the starting top laner. He knows how to do it. As, okay, Afrika just going to deal with this inner turret now in the mid lane. This is a difficult game to talk about, isn't it? 7,000 gold is the lead, and it's not crazy insurmountable, but what we've been doing is tacking on the fact that DRX have such an early gauged composition, right? Early geared composition. And Afrika is certainly very happy to scale forever. Really.
Yeah, it's just how these compositions are designed to work, and normally this is where, like, as DRX you're testing, is our lead big enough? Did we do enough to still win 5v5s with an amazing private composition? But here comes a possible flank.
Yeah, that's a flank. All 5 members of Afrika are here, and Destroy's like, nope, 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 nope. Get me back out of here.
And they teleport to top lane.
No, okay, this is just like, I'll show you how to flank. It's once again King and flexing. He's flanking all the way to the very top of the map. And there's no more minions here. So the teleport was odd. We are looking for another turret as Destroy is in the mid lane, and Afrika are respecting it a lot more. Okay, never mind. They're going to send Keen back, and he's got Cannon Barrage, so he can take care of these 2 lanes by himself, I guess, theoretically. As he's just going to head over and look to see what Destroy is doing. Meanwhile, the rest of the Afrika members take the inhibitor and go back. Leo completes his Frozen Heart. There is your Zhonya's for Fly. And yes, all in days, really, for Afrika. Very comfortable at this stage of the game. Not going to be able to find that. That's 10 gold for Destroy, as Dread just wanders on forward. Troll Ward goes in, might be a little bit optimistic, but missed by a lot of the abilities. The Cannon Barrage goes down. Hyoshik soaking way too much damage, but Keen is immediately taken down. Destroy now in some trouble, though, as Leo just trying to fight this one out. Front to back, the double with the True Shot Barrage. Misses a few skill shots, but hits the ones that he needs to, as there's the Inspire, trying to get Leo to close the gap. But Afrika still winning out on the fight. That's a lot of damage. As those first 3 items, man, the item spike is just revolting. 6-0-0 on this Ezreal, and they'll take down their second inhibitor. It's feeling like a bit of a for-fun game for Keen, as that flash was absolutely necessary. Leo going to avoid the spear. Now we'll see whether we play it by the book or whether Afrika are going to try and go for the end of the game. Looks like it's not going to be that, as we've got 50 seconds on the Elder.
And we still see glimpses of why maybe the first, I don't know, 5 minutes of this game, we're like, okay, it's DRX, it can still happen, but at this point in time, the leads that were built up by Afrika are just too big. The compositional advantage is too grand, and sure, Keen dies.
He wasn't allowed to do anything.
Yeah, Keen literally got like, but this is the thing, every ult gets blown just to kill Keen, and that makes you happy for like a split second until you realize there is a, like, at that point, 4-0 Ezreal with 3 items finished, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What do we... Because even if you get on any of them, there's a Karma and an Orianna, and the fact that we even have to discuss like why it shouldn't happen is, I guess, testament to DRX. You know, if you're a really optimistic person.
Yep. Not, personally, not going to fit into that category in this particular game, Chronicler. I apologize.
You shouldn't.
Well, Keen is just going to take the Elder Drake by himself, as the rest of the Afrika Freaks going to act as gatekeepers. And by rest of Afrika Freaks, I think just Leo, who does throw a True Shot Barrage into the ether, but at least he's able to avoid a lot of these skill shots as well. And goodbye, Elder. That one's going to be collected. Goodbye, Nexus Turret as well, as Destroy's going to come down. Look to see whether he can save it. See how that one does go. Does get the attention of the Super Creep, but it's not going to be enough. And it's going to be taken down. So Afrika now with the Elder, and one Nexus Turret between them and a 30-minute very comfortable victory over DRX. Let's see whether they just close it out right here. There is 40 seconds on the Baron though, boys. Come on, we could go grab a Baron, couldn't we? As there's a dredge line, depth charge come through as well. That's a lot of space gained by Leo, who goes golden. Keenan's in a bit of trouble here. Haymaker to try and keep himself alive, but it's not going to work. Destroy will be destroyed. It's a double kill for Fly, as now Dread looking to try and find someone to boop. Not quite able to. Chains of Corruption basically ignored here by the Udyr, who's pretty tanky. Especially when he can get into that turtle stance. It's Shockwave onto a couple. Goodbye, Mr. Varus. As Fly is going to celebrate by dying to a fountain. And Afrika Freaks will obliterate game one.
What can you do after a game like that, Atlas? I'm honestly not sure. As DRX, you look at the drops, you look at the overall gameplay, and you go like, well, you know, if this is a scrim, 15 minutes in, we're just saying, okay, this one is done. So this one is just not going to work out. And I'd also expect this can still be a competitive series, because I think this is the type of game where, as a team, you just go, well, this was lost in the first 10 minutes. Can't have this happen again, guys. Let's just reset and go into the next game. Clanly, whereas if you're Afrika Freaks, you're very happy. Everyone did great.
Yeah. We have to remember as well that the Gangplank was the final pick as well, and the Jace and the Nard, two champions that Keen is very happy to, you know, win a Renekton matchup on. Both of them were banned away beforehand. His Gwen was banned away, his Lucian, his Akali. Technically, there were 5 bans that could have been thrown towards the top side, and they're going to need 6, in theory, to make things better.
It's not a great solution, Atlas.
No, it is not. I believe also that Afrika do now get side selection.
They do. As
DRX chose blue side, being the home team. So now Afrika can just choose to play red side again and get counterpick for Keen again, if they would like to. If they see that as being their win condition 2 games in a row. Certainly don't have to do that. They can go for a more proactive drafting approach. But I wouldn't mind them just choosing red side and saying, well, what else do you have for us?
Isn't it the loser who picked after the first one? If I remember correctly. It's just
sorry, yes, loser picks.
So I do really...
I tell a lie.
It's okay. It's okay. I get that we need to kind of recuperate after that game.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on.
It's thrown my brain through a little bit of a loop, I'm not going to lie. Fair bit of damage done by Leo, as you can see. Same thing to be said for Keen. And when you've got 3 members of the opposing side out damaging a lethality Varus, you know something's gone wrong.
Even though Keen kind of, you know, he had some fun at the end, he went for the Keen teleports. I think his early game presence was just, it messes with your mental as well as a team when you just see a top laner, like a player has died, like
we haven't seen a game so far this
minute and a half in.
This inevitable. Like, this was just,
what you gonna do?
It felt so incredibly over. But, I mean, that's a testament to Keen, how well he played the lane, and also to Afrika for being able to close it out. It took a lot longer, I think, than a lot of people may have been expecting, but this was a late-game composition. They needed to try and, you know, make sure that everything was all organized and their ducks in a row. But, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a short break. When we get back, we'll see whether DRX can come back.
아얘 건다 이번에.
나 뒤에 보고 있고. 야 위에 있다 위에. 함부로 못 들어. 함부로 못 들어.
세트부터.
나 안 죽어 나 안 죽어.
세트 잡아.
베네톤.
잡아.
가봐 쭉 가봐 쭉 가봐 쭉 가봐. 가봐
야.
쉴드 3초.
안드라 쉴드. 오케이. 야 웨이브.
나 죽기 싫어.
웨이브 넣자.
나이스. 야 깔끔했다. 나 카르마 너무
한 볼게 이거.
그래.
다 죽여버려.
카르마.
카르마
너무 재밌어.
카르마 너무 재밌다.
ta đấy ta đổi đấy. Chỗ này không có chỗ không đổi đâu.
We're back after the second match of the night, and Africa Freaks takes DRX down in game 1. We had a new lineup from DRX, and they did focus on the top lane starting from the pick and ban. I mean, we don't really get to see this kind of a top-oriented ban pick in the competitive match, right? I think there are some cases where mid laner gets subbed out for a top laner like this when he is not feeling well, or when it's a top-oriented meta, you know, when top champions are actually really good at mid lane as well, and because usually top laners kind of pilot them better. But I kind of disagree with the decision here and about the result, because Africa Freaks got a very well-rounded comp, and Udyr is a champion that can, you know, always pick get many kills as possible once all the laners are winning. So Africa Freaks was able to, you know, extend the lead based on the lane priority. Especially on the top lane, GP was able to get back-to-back solo kill on Renekton. And once the game was in a huge lead for Africa, Dread was able to, you know, make a lot of rotation all over the map. Well, I'm pretty sure DRX had some plan for this specific roster, but I don't think they were able to execute the play that they were looking for, and there were some major mistakes in the game, and we couldn't see the value of this lineup at all. Let's take a look at the level 2 solo kill happened on the top lane. The game was pretty much over since then. I think Renekton wanted to break that barrel, but GP was actually able to pop it, then connects that into a very easy kill. It was really important because GP is a strong champion up against a melee champion, but Renekton had to make a play together with Nidalee, but at that point in the game, actually Pyosik was far away, but that level 2 mistake was pretty much critical for Renekton because the lane was over at that point. GP definitely has leads in the early matchup, but after that kill, GP was able to purchase Sheen. But it is all about, you know, actually Renekton building that Ninja Tabi early on, but the balance was broken with that kill. And then another kill was picked up by Kiin. He was playing a different game in game number 1. And later on, he had a team fight around the Infernal Drake Soul. Now let's take a look at this highlight. Because Africa Freaks was way too ahead. Kiin took a very optimistic TP in that jungle. However, even though he got picked early on, Leo and Leehan's Dread in fly were there in order to get things done. So 2 of the Africa players actually get caught out, but the rest of the players knew how to turn this fight around. Dread was able to absorb the aggro for 1 tempo, and then Fly's Shockwave finds multiple players. At this point in the game, Africa Freaks was way ahead of DRX, so even though they had 2 players down, they were able to turn the fight around and still secure the Infernal Soul. I think the game was just over after that solo kill on the top lane. We had no plot twist till the very end. And the POG will go over to Kiin once again. He's the only POG on the side of Africa so far. He's won every POG and he's willing to dictate even more. That goal difference in the end was also absurd. That slight misexecution ended up being super critical for Destroy and also DRX as a whole. Even Pyosik actually passed around the top lane, but he was just not able to wait for Pyosik to get there.
좀 디테일하게 보면 원래 칼날부리 와드.
If you want to take a detailed look, actually DRX placed a ward around the Raptor camp, but Dread actually skipped that camp and just went for his Rat camp. So it was really hard to expect DRX to where the Dread was, but that was not the most important factor in this game. And Keen missed out lone vote due to that brilliant jungle pathing from Dread, but still he was able to win 11 of them. I think DRX's new tactic didn't work out, especially it was a tough one for the rookie top laner to handle. Back to our casters.
Thank you so much, Jisun, for the translation. And Jonas Strong, I know it was you. That really gives it to the Udyr.
Hey man, Udyr has value. He runs, he stuns. His job is done. Like, what are you getting on him for? And this is, I get this, but I also think that if you were not willing to commit to keeping Destroy in, should you have gone for it in the first place? Especially against Afrika, especially against a player like Keen, who does what we just saw against players like Rascal and Kana, players that we know can be like some of the strongest top laners in the LCK.
Yeah.
And the answer, in my opinion, is probably not.
Yeah. DRX are going to choose red side here.
Very
as yes, they do not want to give counterpick to Keen yet again. That is how you mitigate the problem, is you make sure that you can have a decent top lane matchup. So Afrika with a more difficult task on their hands, but I think we've been talking a lot about Keen, and obviously there's a reason for that, but I think we need to shout out Lehens and Leo and how well they've been playing at the same time, because this was a team, like Afrika Freaks was a team with 2 losing lanes and Keen. That's basically what they were in spring. And so now, with the fact that you know, Leo and Lehens are stepping up, it does mean that even if Fly is in these matchups that aren't able to exert very much pressure in the early stage, it buys enough space for him to not get completely crushed throughout that laning phase, and allows the jungler to be able to play around you know, a game that doesn't have exactly the right amount of mid pressure. So let's see what happens as we hop into the draft already. Lulu has been banned away by the Afrika Freaks, and Renekton taken off the board. No more gambles with the Crocodile going to be taken. As I think it's interesting because Kingan's still here, obviously, and is going to be playing topside this game. His gangplank is one of the better ones that we've had in the LCK, so leaving it up actually seems like an okay move, but with the flexibility of Renekton, you know, just not wanting to take the chance, as there's the Nocturne ban as well.
Also because it's Keen, and giving Keen one of the strongest top laners at the moment, just even though I think that King will be fine, I don't expect we'll see anything similar to what we get here. And I would actually love, for the Karma to get banned, because I think that otherwise a free kick on first pick that, as you pointed out, Fly, happy to pick up the Orianna, but if you get Fly on Karma, it neutralizes the lane, which is one of the places where Fly might have issues, allows him to support the rest of his team. And as a whole, I think Afrika should just be looking into a very, very similar playstyle, banning away to the Kali as well, which personally I'm completely fine with. And this, no, they need to ban Gwen. Because if you don't ban Gwen here, it's basically
it's one of the,
over.
that's a cardinal sin.
And then you can pick up the Israel, right? Okay, that's a Gwen first pick. Come on,
well,
it's gonna happen, right?
I
Surely Keen's gonna get it.
I think it has to. Although Lucian's up as well,
God,
and that's another flex. This one is, it feels like, I mean, it is a flex, right? But is Fly going to be playing Lucian?
Shouldn't it be Keen?
Yeah. That's what I'm sort of feeling. Leo can, of course, play it as well. You have to remember that Leo has our best Yuumi player next to him, and Yuumi Lucian is a fun lane, and one that we have always really enjoyed here in the LCK, so keep that in mind.
You know, it can even go into a Lucian Brom.
Pyoshik's mad! The first pick Kindred on red side is definitely a confidence play there, as Kingan picked it up for him. We'll see what Pyoshik is going to gather himself. Thresh is up, and I wouldn't mind that one either. Becker is actually a pretty good Thresh player. Demonstrated that last season.
Yeah, you know, look in the Thresh. Ooh, I prefer picking up the Thresh and then the Jinx,
Yeah.
Because now I feel like you're at the risk of the Thresh just getting picked away. Although,
If Tahm Kench wasn't banned, I'd be okay with this.
yeah,
but
exactly.
Because
It's
is,
one of the two, right?
Yeah.
That you're kind of looking for. Although, just the existence of Kindred helps justify Jinx's existence. And what I'm happy about is that DRX realized, well, we're playing against a Freaka. We should probably not try to hard force early game and instead pick something
Yeah,
that
Varus Thresh.
scales
I really like Varus Thresh here.
so we can come back from a deficit. And yeah, Varus Thresh, you have an incredibly strong solo lane that's flexible. You have a really good bot lane that can probably punish the Jinx that hopefully is not going to have the Thresh available and is does fairly diveable as well. And if they don't go for that,
Oh, okay. This is so this is a
Dread.
flex as well, as Dread has already played it.
Yeah.
I think the LCK is one of the only regions that likes playing Lee Sin in the jungle. We haven't seen it so much elsewhere. However, can be also in the solo lanes. We saw Faker have some fantastic performances on the Lee Sin. And,
Yeah,
that's Gwen.
Yeah, I'm actually a bit perplexed. I have been very vocal in my... I like Gwen as a champion. I think she's really cool, but I also think she is extremely overloaded and does way too much, way too well. In terms of overall composition, it doesn't really help you. I feel like DRX, especially into things that are a bit shorter range, like the Lee and the Lucian, Varus a bit off theme in that regard, is going to go for more of, you know, hang back, let them engage onto us, use the Lamps Respite, and then smack back with Jinx, getting a reset, and then go from there. And the Gwen doesn't really fit necessarily, but giving King a real opportunity to fight back against Keen is really cool. And I love that they still ban out top laners. They're still like, no,
Yep.
I don't trust you, Keen. This could be... Actually, I don't... Yeah, I guess it could be mid lane Lucian for Fly, and then it's the Lee Sin for Dread, and then you just know that Keen is going to pick his cannon, and he's going to demolish King, and it's going to be super demoralizing, and we don't want that here.
No, we don't. We definitely don't. I think a lot of people are pretty excited about the Lee Sin possibly being in the top lane for Keen, because that'd just be more fun, right? You know, Lee Sin versus Gwen, you know, two very, very strong champions at this point in time. The Thresh ban, though, comes as absolutely no surprise, and I feel like this is going to really throw a spanner into the works of what DRX wants to do on the bottom side of the map. That being said, they expected it to happen, right? If you pick Gwen instead of the Thresh, then you know that Thresh is going to get banned. And we'll see what else is going to be looked at here. Leona could be one, you know, the Nautilus could be taken away.
Pick Janna, easy peasy.
Hey, there we go.
People might think I'm joking, but I actually think Janna is really good into the Lee Sin, and it synergizes incredibly well with the Kindred. You don't have it engage, so that's you know, that's something that you kind of got to deal with. Rel, though, provides you with engage, provides you with a certain extent of peel with the attract repel. You know, it's not really peel, but it's some form of survivability. Also gives you the engage that you might otherwise lack, so would like that. Leona, of course, generally the strongest. I swear, the amount of like R4 Leonas that we've seen is just...
It's pretty absurd, isn't it?
It's insane. Yeah, it's the ultimate. Yeah, this is always kind of good. We can always use this, and it's never prioritized above that like the Nautilus sometimes is, or the Kench. And it's never like, yeah, I guess. Are we excited about it?
Not massively. I like this, you know, keep Fly onto something that he's comfortable with. We were expecting the Lee Sin to go into the jungle, so this does make some sense. Interested to see what Lehens is going to grab for himself, because of course he has been a mad scientist.
It is Lehens.
Yeah, I want like Nami or something, you know,
Oh
something
my
fun.
God.
Give me something fun. Just really crush that lane, because we saw when Leo and Lehens have priority, the game feels so much easier for a Freak of Freaks.
What's it gonna be?
And it's probably not going to be that difficult to grab
Oh, I like
the
that.
priority, as there's the Braum. Okay. This gives their team fight a lot of oomph, and certainly gives their, you know, early levels a lot of power as well.
It's really good on multiple levels. Since Varus, even Lethality Varus, has started running the Halo Blades, you can actually proc the Winter Spite early on.
Yep.
It's nice into engage supports like the Leona, because it neutralizes so much of what they can do. However, Afrika does run into the issue of not actually having any hard engage outside of a Lee Sin kick and playing into a team that outranges you and has a Kindred ultimate. So this feels more like what I expected to come, or like what I expected to come out of draft in a series like this, where it's Afrika who actually need to get the leads, and then it's DRX who kind of need to play from there.
We'll see whether they are going to be able to do it. Both of these teams, theoretically, with 2 marksmen on the roster. Of course, it was as we predicted, Keen playing the Lucian there towards the top side of the map, something that he has caused a lot of ruckus on in the past. But Lucian really has been a mid laner for the, quite some time, right? Feels like all year he's been basically mid. Whereas last year, more likely to be on the top side of the map. Doesn't mean that he can't be flexed up there, and we do mention that he is flexible every single time he comes out, and that just seems to have been what suited the Afrika Freaks at this point in time. And of course, Fly doesn't really feel like a Lucian player. He's just going to hop back onto the Orianna. And we mentioned before, Mastery player wants to be on something that he's very comfortable on, and this is absolutely fitting exactly into that wheelhouse. As Leo Lehen's on this bottom side, we'll see whether the Braum and the Varus are going to have as much power as we saw them wielding with the Ezreal Karma in the last game. Pyosik, though, is back on his namesake in the Kindred. Solka going to come on through with his Victor. We haven't really spoken too much about Solka. I was wondering whether he wasn't feeling well or something like that, and that's why he was subbed out, but it was a bit of experimentation for DRX, and now we are going to see their main roster in full flight, and we'll see whether it does bring us to a Game 3 here on our final match of the first week of LCK Summer 2021. This is a 5-man. I like it. You got Braum. And so therefore, do something level 1.
The Guarding Wolf. I like it. It's not the...
Oh, Kingen actually spotted out Lehen's there in the Baron pit. I like it. Keen. This is a wraparound if ever I've seen one.
I mean, Pyosik knows. It's like, you see Lee Sin walking up here like,
yeah, they got pings all over him, but he's still walking on in there, trying to get some aggression. Gets into the brush, wanders out, and they are just making sure that Pyosik isn't going to be towards the top side.
Yeah, create some vision as well, and possible invade. I don't think there's that much you can do about this. You might see a split map scenario where if Bauernbecker can take control of the wave early on, Solka, I think, might be able to get early prio here, although it is going to cost him a lot in terms of health and mana if he's not careful. But the nice thing about this is that then we just get a split map, which is really bad for Kingen because he is going to get bullied in his matchup early on, and there is a Lee Sin that is near him, and he can basically not look for an all-in, which I think is actually one of the ways where you can kind of deal with this situation, because he needs to respect the fact that Dread is probably around.
Yes. Orianna, pretty good into this matchup. Pretty glad that we've got Kuro on the desk here today because, of course, he has played in the Victor Orianna matchup many, many times throughout his career. As Dread not going to be able to find the Sonic Wave there as he continues what looks to be... Okay, this is the greedy variety, the 3-buff version. As he's going to go down and look for his Raptors into his red.
Yeah, and I'm like, maybe Pyosik can like find out. He will be pathing around that ward, so maybe he can look for an invade, but he's also gone for Conqueror. That's a really long wraparound that he's taken there. So, which it's understandable because he doesn't actually know whether or not his jungle is safe, unfortunately for him. Oh, actually, no.
I mean,
talk about
Dread did walk
mid.
through.
Yeah, it's like, in that regard, I don't really know, like, because it keeps your position hidden, but there's also nowhere that you could actually be. But he doesn't want to risk it, maybe in case of like a double bluff wraparound, and this just leads to Pyosik being really far behind. And I don't think they can play for that topside scuttle, so this might be a free buff double scuttle start for Dread, which is pretty disgusting. This makes it make a little bit more sense though.
Yeah, this is, it feels like a bit of an all-or-nothing play, though, because if they don't manage to get a kill or anything here, then it's exactly what you were talking about. It's no mark for the Kindred, it's triple buff and double scuttle, but Keen is going to face-check this. Immediately, he's ignited as they're taking a lot of damage from the minions. The flash does come out as Keen's trying to get it back. He's down extraordinarily low. The snips out of range, and now Dread's here. Pyosik's in a bit of trouble now as there's the flash. The Q will connect, and now Kingen is next on the menu. Oh my goodness, it was a gamble, and unfortunately it was Snake Eyes for DRX.
Oh, and he needs to give up a multitude of minions there as well, because he needs to go for the back first, because he can't stay near the turret. The back gets cancelled by Keen instantly teleporting. Gets an entire wave of minions going in. And the first game was literally decided in the first 5 minutes. Then it was a level 2 solo kill. This time, Afrika makes great use of the level 1 power that they have available. The Lee Sin, the threat of a Braum. And it's an all or nothing flip on top side. They don't get the kill. Dread gets the counter gank. Disaster.
Yep, and Scuttle was claimed on the top side, and that was the one with the mark. So it is going to be a Scuttle each. So, not double Scuttle like we were possibly assuming.
It's something.
But instead, it was the kills. As we're going to check out Keen's Pro View. As, yeah, this snip. Oh my goodness, just out of range.
나 킨드
That
프리스 킨드
feels real
프리스.
bad.
나 텔로 와야 돼. 걔 점화 있다 진혁아.
Of course, he's pinging flashes and everything like that. Right on time as well. Like it a lot.
Oh man, I need a moment to like, this is such a disheartening start to the game, where even though the rest of the map is looking pretty decent, this beckons the question, and I think the answer is no. Like, was Destroy the problem? I'm starting to think Keen is just the problem in like, for anyone that is playing against them.
Keen's the problem for every other team.
It's not actually the player that's playing against him, it's just Keen. And this Lucian pick is something that if you can get the punish on it, it can actually be shut down super hard, right? We see this with the Shy,
of course.
who loves his AD top laners. And now, this is feeling like vintage Afrika. And now Fly, Leo, and Lance, all they have to do is not die. Literally, and this is not like in a negative way, like that I don't expect them to be able to do that. That's all they need to do. Just sit tight and watch Keen
finally
and
does
Dread.
come out. Dread's here, King in.
They can't fight this. Keen 6 is like, it's impossible.
Fly's in a bit of trouble here. He's having a bit of a boogie in the Chaos Storm, but we'll just wander on out. Had the dissonance movement speed there as Pioshik's going to clear out this control ward. But yeah, enough damage has been done this point in the game for Afrika to feel pretty comfortable. It is a decent advantage for Bao on the bottom side, but I believe with the wave crashing in, it will equalize pretty effectively here for Afrika.
Now, unlike Game 1, this isn't all doom and gloom. This is looking very bad. I gotta be honest, it's not good. It's a 1k gold, a 1.5k gold lead even, 6.5 minutes in. But unlike the last game, DRX does this time have a composition that actually will allow them to fight back. Surely, it's gonna take quite a while.
Oh, that was a little bit of a delay there from Dread. Slightly unfortunate, couldn't quite get the ward out in time. We don't actually often see these safeguard hop misplays, but Dread just not quite finding the timing there.
Yeah.
What it felt like to me anyway, I don't know, maybe my brain processed it differently.
No, not 100% sure. I feel like he could have hit that. But some things are like, it's not the end of the world. You use a pink and Solka has no flash. So it's a trade you'll take any time of the day.
Yep.
Another mark. Scuttle gets picked up by Dread. I actually do think, I need to check, that Pioshik's Scuttle on bot side did spawn a mark at like the very end, just before he got it. So he might be on 1 mark. But 1 mark is not where you want to be at Kinry. You want to be at 4, and that requires either invades, which are not happening, or kills, which are probably also not happening. So as a whole, it's not a great place to be, as Dread and Keen are very far ahead in terms of gold. Lane is also, it looks like, pushing away from Kingen.
That was a bit cute, Keen. Working out where Kingen is as he hops into the bubble, just to make sure that he can still get damage down onto the Gwen. Will throw out some needlework and run away. Of course, Dread not able to get into position here. Good stun from Solka. Another Chaos Storm to go down. As Fly not in too much trouble here.
Quite like that play from Kingen. Really good use of the Hallowed Mist. Able to also then use his needles on the wave to make sure that there is no dive possibility. Because sure, you can hit them on the champions for some sustain, and then the wave crashes and like they kill you anyway. And you're like, oh, well, that wasn't great. Not what you want. And maybe even possible Infernal Drake here for DRX, which is going to buy them a lot of time. Looks like the bleeding from the gold lead also has been somewhat mitigated. Pioshik is going to pick up a mark here. Sure, we're going to see if this is his second or if it is indeed his first one. It will be his second. Yep.
But Well, not the worst. Still not great, but
Yeah.
not the worst. As okay, gonna grab some more plates here on the top side is Keen and Dread, and of course Shelly will be popped down, and that is going to guarantee first turret blood over to Keen's Lucian, which, if you're a DRX fan, feels suboptimal. And Pyoshik over here will be able to trade that one for the Infernal Drake. So at least this time around, DRX, they're getting things back for themselves, right? As that's a second charge for Shelly. A lot of value there from her. Nice work. And a Freaka tidy up the bottom lane. So 5 CS is in it on the bottom side of the map. Bao doing his very best to continue scaling.
Pyoshik, you see that Sheen? He might go for Divine Sunderer as well. He's been a very adamant Kraken Slayer player for the longest time. Like, there's a lot of Kindred players, right? And there's a lot of different builds that you see. But he's the one who always conquer, always goes for the Kraken Slayer. So the fact that even that man is swapping his build must mean Divine Sunderer is really broken.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and unlike the last game, I think you can notice the difference. We're not fully memeing it up because this game is actually, this still needs to be won. It's looking good for a Freakout. They're doing really well at leveraging their gold lead. But if Kingen can now set up a freeze, the first Drake has been taken, which means that no matter what happens, DRX are going to have 5 extra minutes to hit spikes and stave off a possible soul. And I think they can actually still scale back into this game. And we joke about it, but this is not a position like last game where I'm like, a Freakout, this is like 100% one. Like, you cannot lose this.
Yeah, right. No, I agree. And because they had the scaling advantage so considerably
in the
first
previous game. Yep.
It just felt like there was that air of inevitability extraordinarily early. Not the case this time. A Freaka, of course, will still be fine heading into a late game, but you compare things like Varus and Jinx, and obviously Jinx is, in a hyper carry late game situation, going to be feeling a whole bunch better.
It's the range advantage that you have, right? Because as DRX, you have the opportunity, you can go in on the Freaka, even though you don't really want to, because you're going into a Braum, which never feels great, and then from behind that Braum, there's an Orianna, and Leo can fire shots at you, and King can do stuff. But in an even situation later in the game, King goes in!
Yeah, looking for the needlework. Keen burning down to the Ignite. King and running out of mana a little bit here, as Pyoshik looking to come on over and just grab himself the kill. See, Keen is sensing it, looking to get out of here.
Knows.
Yep, Dance of Arrows will get Pyoshik over the wall, but he'll get the bad news. It's Keen, I hope you're not shopping. And he might have been, but does move himself out of the way. As Dread understands that there's a bunch of minions to be taken here on the top side, as he takes the Wolf camp first.
Question here becomes, who is better, Keen the player or Gwen the champion? And even as good as Keen is, I'm like, I don't know the answer to that one actually, if I think about it, because of course, the Guild Force wasn't finished for King yet, but still, the fact that Gwen can do that.
And also Gwen is sort of uniquely good at these types of matchups, right? The melee versus range, just with the fact that her mist makes things so difficult for you to engage. Being in melee range against a melee champion as a range champion, not great news as Pyoshik gets out of the way.
I didn't know, but he's going to feel good about that one. Still gets taken.
The result's still going to be bad, yeah.
But...
Did you hear the Korean casters in the background as well? They're like, oh! And I'm sitting here going, well, he lost his red.
Yeah.
It's not very good. It's sort of a jaded approach. I shouldn't have that.
No, I
apologize, everyone.
I get it, but I got extra excited. It's
no, I'm glad you balanced it out. Yeah. You balanced it out. Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
I also need pushback, otherwise I get excited about everything all the time, and then it's just like, can you calm down, please?
Yes, indeed.
And I think the state of the game right now is one where Afrika is feeling good, but they're not feeling great. They need to actually find a way to consistently push in. I really like what we saw them do there, pick up those buffs, because the gold lead actually not getting bigger, and as you say, I think they're fine in late game scenarios. Their damage will always remain relevant, but late game fights around objectives are just going to be really awkward due to the fact that you don't have hard engage and they have a Jinx and a Victor, which if you just like two teams kind of standing near each other and like looking at each other menacingly, you're always going to pick those two.
Yeah. And unless they can make something happen around this mid game, which is what I'm looking for Afrika, especially with my eyes on Dread. Lee Sin hasn't hit his trough just yet as King in, looking for Keen, who Gale Force Relentless pursues away. And he will be absolutely fine. Lucian now with 3 dashes is, yeah, that's frustrating.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
dashes.
It's a few too many, I think. At least one too many.
I am not sad about Stridebreaker dash getting removed in an upcoming patch. That is something that I think is very good.
Yeah. No, I
Even
agree.
though there are not even that many Stridebreakers anymore, but like the item still feels like I don't think you should have a dash actually, Darius. I don't think that's okay. I don't think that's okay.
I think that Darius should have to build Gale Force in order to get it.
Yes.
That's what I feel.
If he does that and he gets me, I'm like, well, that's on me.
Exactly. It's like, kudos, dude. You build
Oh,
it,
to
you
you.
build it that way, respect the stones. But being able to be extra tanky and also extra mobile, it's a rough time. As Super Mega Death Rocket is going to tickle the backside of Dread while he takes down this Drake. Mountain will be collected here by the Afrika Freaks with the extra early game power that they have. Gromp is going to be the mark. You can see Pyoshik is on the top side. They'll get knowledge that Dread is bottom as this dragon goes down, and Pyoshik walks over a ward, puts down the control ward, and we'll just clear it out and back away. So Fly going to be okay for the moment. There's a bit of a lane swap here as it was Keen hanging out in mid lane. And that is going to continue. Prowler's Claw here for Leo, already done. Still waiting on Bow to complete the Kraken Slayer. And Kingen also looking for his first Mythic as well. The Riftmaker will be coming in relatively soon. He's behind 20 CS, but of course didn't die in that first exchange, so it's not the worst news. Still, all of that experience was a bit of a problem. As Dread says, Shirley, chill out for a second. I'm just going to go take this Shellfish, and he will be able to grab this one as well. So Afrika starting on their neutral objective Monopoly again.
Interestingly enough, I don't actually know if DRX have, or rather if Afrika have anyone who can deal with Kingen on DRX's side. Once he finishes his Riftmaker, which is getting close now, even with the Tabi spot, I'm pretty sure that he demolishes Fly in the 1v1 because it's Gwen, right? Like,
yeah.
Orianna does a combo and then Gwen isn't dead, and then she out-sustains, out-damages, and just generally makes you very unhappy. And that means that the level of acceleration that we're seeing here from Afrika is, in my opinion, there's still a sizable window. It's not necessary to get really worried yet. They might be able to pick up a mid lane turret here, which is going to open up the map, allow the jungle to be invaded and vision to be set up there. But honestly, as DRX, this is where you're like, okay, you know, the early game looked abhorrent. We really got punished very aggressively, but we haven't really been able to find too much. We picked up the first Drake, you know, it's going to be 8 minutes before they even would have soul points, let alone an actual soul. So, as a whole, I think both teams can feel kind of okay here, interestingly enough.
Or both teams can feel a little bit nervous here, I guess. And we'll see who's going to react to it better. As it is currently, like you say, 2,000 gold lead for Afrika, but the acceleration has certainly not been there. It feels like that gap has been around for a very long time. It is going to be the Ocean Soul this time, as of course we are allergic to Cloud Souls these days. Kind of miss them, not gonna lie. I like the sort of swirly riff.
That's such a nostalgia thing, right? Where you're like, when it was happening, like, oh, Cloud Soul again. And I really miss them.
Yeah, really miss them.
It's like me and Dutch Weather. It's like, no, it's actually not good at all. Like, you should not feel any nostalgia for that.
I mean, in comparison to how extraordinarily hot it is at the moment here in Korea, I could completely understand.
It's a trap. It's nostalgia. It's actually not great.
All right. I'll
take my word for it.
I'll take your word for it. It was very rainy when I was in the Netherlands the last time around.
That is very appropriate, yes. Yep. That is how we do. And it's an interesting one. I think that Afrika can always win games later in the, or win fights rather later in the game. But the level of execution required is going to be a lot harder. The amount of survivability provided by the DRX comp and the items that are going to be finished at that point in time are really gonna have Afrika to like show something that I don't think they've really shown, which is like, actually no, the team fighting has been pretty good, but I think it's going to be hard.
Yeah, I also think that, you know, the amount of win conditions that DRX have with this composition is just higher, right? Because they have the split push win condition, and when you have sort of like that control of a side lane, you really can make your opponents a bit more predictable and put them in positions where you can force them around the map, and that is very valuable, as we have learned. So looking to see how Afrika mitigates it, because if they can actually force, which you've already illustrated, they don't have that many opportunities for hard engage. But if Dread gets into the backline, finds a sick Lee Sin flank with some kicks and things like that, then they can really put some spanners in the works. As Leo going to be right up close and personal with this outer turret on the bottom side. Bao's going to move on in as Lahens. Yeah, not going to be able to find the Winter's Bite because there's a pesky minion in the way, and Bao does deal with the minion wave. So, yeah, Afrika with 4 members down here, not going to be able to find the dive as Pioshik gets tagged. And another thing we didn't mention is this is Kindred against Kindred's worst enemy in the Lee Sin. Of course, put down the Lamb's Spite and then you get booted out of it and you feel really bad. So we'll see how that is navigated in the later stages as well.
It's not great. Not very happy about it. Then again, oh, Pioshik.
All right, stand beside me there for Lands. Solar Flare going to find a slow, but otherwise not too much more. And now that is a pretty decent tool off the board. 10 seconds on this Ocean Drake.
That's interesting.
Okay. That's Chains of Corruption landing. And the Glacial Fissure is going to come through as well. Sonic Wave doesn't connect, but that's a lot of poke damage down onto DRX. And Pioshik especially, but he does still have Lamb's Respite. It looks like Afrika getting closed in upon. As Becca goes in, Zenith Blade is there, Super Mega Death Rocket connects onto Just Dread. As Keen is going to give Becca and King a back massage. That's about all it is right here. And now it's DRX able to turn onto the 3 members of Afrika Freaks. Afrika now moving on over, not going to quite find the Shockwave as Lamb's Respite comes in. Pioshik gets the heal back and Afrika still finding it. Leo gets the empowered Q. And goodbye Pioshik. Took a long time for a kill to actually come in there. The jostling for position was ridiculous, but Afrika, they don't find the Drake, but they do find the kill.
It's a high-risk play by DRX, and actually I think it works out better than expected. Giving up a kill on Pioshik is unfortunate, and it's going to make Leo's siege a lot better. But simultaneously, I don't think you need to contest this Drake. I think you can wait for the third one, for the Soul Point one, to really pull the trigger. Instead, they get excited, want to use Bao, but the zoning from Fly there is really, really nice. Pioshik gets caught by himself, and yeah, him dying there feels a little bit. That's a
lot of damage, right?
It's also like 300 magic damage.
Yeah,
like, that feels a bit.
You press the Blighted Quiver button, and it's the every time, like whenever you're playing against Avaris, every time he charges up that Q, you're like, is it gonna be the one that kills me? Because like it's the W press, man. It just catches me off guard every single time.
It's always terrifying, and I'm really happy that you have to, like, as Varus commits to pressing the W before you charge your Q, so you can at least like know, like, this is the one. This is the one that cannot hit me. Yeah. And I don't know how I feel about that, because like I said, I think DRX's call here is this is gonna just buy us 5 more minutes. But giving over that extra kill does mean that, like I said, the acceleration of Leo might be hard for you to deal with. And I think Afrika can now use that extra money that they have to take more control of your jungle. And if they actually get a Baron at some point, start knocking down your inners, the scaling that we talk about is going to become more like really, really hoping than actually having a consistent win condition there. So it's risky. I feel like DRX feel like they're not as far behind as they actually are, if that makes sense. I feel like they're like, no, we're a team fight comp. We can fight this. Fly needs to flash.
Yeah, does so. Gets himself out of the way. Dissonance going to be there. Extra movement speed. Going to be all right. Creeping up on 5,000 gold the lead, as Red Buff is going to be the option next for Pioshik as Keen. This is about the time where he might need to become a little bit more cautious of the Gwen. As Lahens just over here defending this red buff, which was there taken by Leo. Not very many of them actually gained by Pioshik. As Q connects, and I believe also it was Keen that collected the red buff on the bottom side. And so that's another mark denied. But Pioshik does have a few. I don't know whether he's quite up to 4 yet, but I think he's I think he might be. So the mark issue, not quite one that's as much of a big deal.
Yeah, the more range you get, the better you're going to feel against this composition from Afrika, because Keen, Dread in particular, needs to get close up. Of course, Fly will still outrange you. Leo's self-explanatory. If you can't get within his range, you're really happy, but not quite yet. And Kingen also going for the natural tooth, which in this scenario makes a lot of sense. I think you want to optimize your split, put pressure, because your 4-man unit it can wave clear, it can engage, it can disengage, it can basically do anything that you want it to do. So making Kingen stronger in a 1v1 scenario and in taking down turrets, as opposed to what we often see as the Zhonyas or maybe a Cosmic Drive for more team fighting prowess, is, I think, a nice adaptation. 4k gold is surmountable, and DRX, just don't contest this one, please. Just let them have it. You're still... Like, you'll find, just wait for your third item on bow. Sorka just now finishing his. Bioshik is also looking towards a second one, not quite there as of yet. Kingen just finishes his Nashor's Tooth, so the sideline pressure is going to be even better.
I like this, actually. Kingen really committing to more of that side lane style. I think this is the first time we've seen Nashor's second here in the LCK. It was the thing that I really wanted first. Is Bao taking so much damage here. As actually, we're also going to connect the Chains of Corruption. Becca has to break his stopwatch, but I don't even know whether it's going to be enough. Still taking so much damage, and Leo, just the tip is enough to take down the Leona. His namesake. It felt a bit weird saying Leo took down Leo, but it happened as there is a back stopped by Pioshik. And man, Leo's having a day today.
He didn't even finish his Muramana yet at that point. That's the worst part about that. It's honestly a really nice catch. Starts with the Jinx being a little bit out of position, Bao using his Gale Force, but just to preemptively keep his team safe, that forces Becca to move forward there. And yeah, if you get hit by knock-up, you're also dead. It feels like kind of a lose-lose situation. I think maybe flashing there would have been better for Becca, as it is the final... And Pioshika's ultimate as well there, right? Like, I don't think he thought that would hit, because it was like just the end of the arrow that clips him. But agree with you, Leo has been having an incredible time, and Afrika as a whole are feeling so much more consistent than the team that we used to see in spring. And personally, I'm all there for it, because I think if we see KT rise up, right? If Afrika becomes another team...
That was very cheeky.
Okay.
Does make his way out to safety, but...
Brave man.
I don't know, was that a mark?
Ooh, that's a very good question. It could be. And if Pioshik is... I think he's still on 3 marks. I don't actually
forgot to check. I apologize to everyone at home. I assume it probably was, which is why he decided to dive on in there.
Yeah.
Makes the play a lot better.
And he's gone for the Divine Thunderer into a Rapid Fire Cannon, so that means that like that first auto that you get with Kindred, especially when you open, is going to be real good. Also really nice feeling when you get your E on someone, but yeah, if you don't have the marks, then it's not going to feel nearly as good.
Edge of Night done here for Leo. Put that one together for himself, so going to be even more able to walk up with Reckless Abandon. Not going to have to worry about stray solar flares, which is going to be the main issue. As Dread just hanging out here. Sulker is going to be frustrating, but Dread feeling like he has absolutely no cares in the world. Just so happy that he gets to play Lee Sin again. Because, of course, that was one of his favorite champions, and then Lee Sin just plummeted out of the meta. It was like, dang it, I have to play all these other things. And then his Elise got taken away, and all sorts of other stuff. As Leo, Prowler's clawing forward. Not really caring. Yeah, also...
Dread Olaf?
Yep, Olaf getting gutted. Man, it's the world against Dread, really, when it comes to his champion pool. But thankfully, Lee Sin's come back.
Maybe he's just really good. Like, I haven't really considered that option.
Yep. There's just this one guy on the balance team that just looks at his solo queue and he's like, oh no, this is obviously much too strong. Look at what Dread's doing. As Kingen just going to snip the bottom lane. And there is another mark available.
It's level 16.
Sorry, Pioshik's a long way away. Yeah, Keen actually a level behind, so Kingen's been doing a decent job here. He's got himself the Giant Spell. We'll see what that turns into.
Yes, a Demonic Embrace. Although if he goes for Renduin's here, I'd actually love it.
I'd love the Renduin's.
That would make me very happy, rather, if that happens.
Yeah, it looks like it is going to be the Demonic Embrace.
Makes more sense.
Yeah. Like, a lot of my brain wanted to say Rylai's, but that's not how that's built anymore. Yeah, it's frustrating. All of these recipes getting changed. Don't even know how to make a souffle anymore. It's just, it's all out of the brain.
Souffles are notoriously hard. Like I can't really fault you for that.
That's actually, and the recipe isn't really the issue with this.
No, it's the technical aspect of it, you know?
Yeah, that's the problem.
It's like Lee Sin, mechanically, it's pretty or like conceptually, it's pretty straightforward, but actually playing him and they're like, what?
Yep. You remember when Lee Sin first came out, everyone was like, this champion's terrible. And then
Well,
they
also-
learned all of the really fun stuff you could do, and you know, Insect existed and things like that. And
Yeah, I feel like
we
that's
realized
every
that he was
champion.
extraordinarily overtuned.
Because, you know, that happened with Lilia, and it happened with Gwen, and it happened with, like, so many others.
No, but I feel like after oh, okay, Kingen looking for Dread here. I feel like Dread came out ridiculous as there's the kick, okay. Sure, as Kingen is actually getting surrounded. Should have the dash back available. There he is, over the wall. But behind enemy lines.
Well, that's 5. Why didn't you get for Baron? You don't need the 5th mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have 4. Don't be greedy.
They could take it in a turret, but as you mentioned, the Baron was on the cards, and therefore Kingen's going to be able to get a free back here. So getting ran around the map here, and this is exactly what we were talking about.
Good.
DRX can split a Freaker up, and then if they fail to actually collapse on either half, then this happens. You just get stuff for free.
This is really nice by DRX.
It's real sneaky. I like
it
the
is.
sneakiness.
It is. Oh man, fun game. You know, it's of course it's we're 30 minutes in and we average 1 kill every 10 minutes.
Yep. I
but-
remember when I used to cast a region where it was a kill per minute, and now we're lucky to get a kill per 10. Oh.
What do you prefer though? I mean, obviously LCK because you're here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Clearly.
what style of game do I prefer? I much prefer the kill per minute because it's just a lot of yelling about stuff. I feel valuable, you know.
But-
As ships in the night, Kingen knew that it wasn't the time yet. We'd only just ticked over as, okay, pop goes the Pyoshik. Not even allowed to press his R button. Okay, no respite for you. And now Kingen is forced to come back with the rest of the team, and this is the problem. If a Freaker is successful, then they get to take free dragons like this.
And this is where I guess the dragon fight actually pays off because now they don't lose soul point. They just lose, or sorry, they don't lose soul, they just lose soul point. It's something. It's not great, but
It took me a while, like a couple of seconds to realize where your optimism was coming from, but now he's gone back in time and collected it from elsewhere. I like it,
yes.
I like it.
But it's still not great. This is like the 2nd or 3rd time that Pyoshik or someone on his team gets caught with Lamb's Respite up. We don't love that. Yeah, it is.
I'm pretty sure you can still press the button when you're rooted, right?
Yeah, no, we can. I thought it was the Braum stun, and in which case it's like, yes, you cannot do anything, but no, he definitely could.
No, Lehenz's Braum comes with one that stacks his passive all the way up as soon as you hit a Winter Spine. That gets an upgraded Q because he's Lehenz.
He's the fan of the Halo Blades Braum, the forbidden tech.
Yep.
You just jump in and you play like an
Actually,
support.
I love it. I love the Halo Blades Braum. I don't remember when it happened first, but it was a long time ago, and I was like, oh my god, it's genius.
Actually amazing.
Super good. Well, there's a sweet helmet for Kingen.
Yeah.
Look at how color coordinated those items are. It looks like a set from World of Warcraft.
It does.
You know, it should
It's
have a set
cohesive
bonus
as well.
We should have a set bonus.
You know, you have like the staff in one hand, and then you have the sword, and then you have the mask on.
Yeah, we need a robe. What's the robe that goes along with this build?
I mean, maybe Spirit Visage?
Oh yeah, but it's not the right color.
Nah, it's
Maybe
not
Force
really.
of Nature? Maybe Force of Nature
Yeah,
looks
the plate
okay.
armor, but that's a terrible item. It's fine. Do it for
Dude, it's for the
thematic
look. It's for the look.
consistency.
Yeah. Something, yeah, I mean, especially in this game, it's woeful. So it's not even going to talk about it. As a Freaker, we're looking to clear out some vision. And we have a lot of vision on the Baron at the moment. A Freaker need to pull the trigger. Now, what we need is for a Freaker to pass the test that Harmon Life Esports failed, which was actually committing to taking a Baron and being decisive. Because if you're indecisive, Kingen does this, where he just takes your entire base. And now a Freaker, they have started it off. Are they going to commit is the question. Is Kingen back into the fog of war? And Leo, of course, he's got his Edge of Night. He's actually feeling pretty comfortable here, as there's the turn. The teleport comes in from Kingen, though, so the punish is not going to be massive. Becca, though, gets tagged with the Q. He's going to get taken down. Dread does go gold, and the rest of the team wrapping around, though, as there's the kick flash. Bao picks up the kill with the flash, though, and there's the shockwave. It's decent, but not quite enough, as Pyoshik this time presses the R button. Lehenz hanging out there in that Lamb's Respite to keep himself alive. And in the end, it is a 1-for-1. Jungler for support, though, and means that Baron pressure is null.
And you got the turret. So this is a win of DRX. You just delay the map. You're able to find the play that you're looking for. It's not amazing. There were a lot of moments there where I feel like if they played a little bit more cohesive, if Solka also flashes
I mean, if
forward
Leo
there,
pressed his R button, perhaps it would have been better too.
yeah, presumably. Didn't even say that the Chains of Corruption won't use, and this started kind of rough because they hard engage on top of a Braum. But this Solar Flare is beautiful, and the fact that Dread goes in there shows a lot, like kind of a lack of cohesiveness with the rest of his team, because he's the one that actually makes the Jinx go and pop off. Beautiful shockwave from Fly, but otherwise the team fight is super doomed, and both teams back-to-back, not really on the same page. Like, one half of the team wants to go in, other half of the team wants to go back. It's not as clean of team fighting as we've seen from either of these two teams, and it also begs the question, what is going to happen in the next one? Because at this point, the 3k gold lead is basically insignificant. There's no soul picked up for either team, and DRX are now well and truly online. And while Gwen has built for the split push, she is still a huge danger for Afrika in the team fights.
Yeah, it's getting more and more terrifying, the fact that Kingen exists, right? As he's now got a stopwatch as well. Looks like Zhonya's is going to be coming in as the next one. Must be a 3-piece set in the purple and yellow items. And so just going to grab an off-piece in that Zhonya's. Wonder if it's BIS or not, as there are a couple of little wardy things here. But the Baron has been started off yet again. Some vision available here, as we can see. As Becker and Kingen going on over, and there's a control ward in the pit now. It is going to be a 50-50, but it's won by Dread. No, it wasn't, in fact, because that was Kingen. The dive done in, so not able to get there was Pioshik, and that is just going to be Baron picked up for free by the Afrika Freaks.
And that one you can afford to give away, but if you get Soul as well, it might very well be game over for DRX. Ocean Soul is so incredibly valuable. Teleport coming in here. They're all running towards the Drake pit.
Yep. And this Ocean Soul, like you mentioned, it's going to be really rough for Kingen to continue that split push as well. There's the Chains of Corruption. Becca getting taken down so low. That's the last hit with a shockwave, but I like it. Just skew the numbers in the next fight. 5 seconds until this Ocean Soul is available, and I think Afrika may have cracked it.
I agree that repeated attempt at the Baron, the first one doesn't really work out, and this is the difference between this Afrika and the Afrika we saw last split. The consistency. They know, sure, doesn't work out the first time. They don't go for a green play. They just say, we set up the vision, we set up the Baron in the exact same way, we play it out cleanly, and it's working out perfectly. Now they have the Ocean Soul. Their fighting power is incredibly hard to deal with, and it's going to take a Hail Mary play from DRX, which they are setting up for.
Yep, Pioshik. He was spotted, but Afrika are just going to wander towards the inhibitors. As you may expect, Fly is bottom lane, but he's got teleport. As Kane, he can dash 400 different times, and so of course they're not going to be able to find that engagement. He's also got his GA complete, 006, which makes him Electravelian, played by Sean Bean in GoldenEye, which is pretty cool.
Wow. That's a specific reference. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I've said that one a couple of times in my career.
I figured. It was at the ready. And like I said, Hail Mary also looks like the GA available here for Keen. Stopwatch still available for Leo. All summoners up. Make it so much harder. And with Baron, the aforementioned like somewhat short range on the side of Afrika is basically fully alleviated, right? Yes, you always will have the siege from a possible calling or Leo going in, but now it becomes really, really easy. I think we might see a 4th item come out here for Bao, and while it's looking really good, it's still not over because DRX can win a single team fight and basically win the game off of that, right?
Yes.
We're getting into like 35, 40 minutes territory, which, do not forget, that's where they excel. Pioshik also gone for, it's literally just like a full pop-off build, I guess, where you just go for like run really big auto and then hope you collect a pro.
It's like, how many cannons can I purchase? And I guess at least 2 is the question. What is a Divine Sundera? I don't really know what
it's like a battle axe.
Oh, well, that's not a cannon. No. It's quite disappointing. That's what I was really looking for.
The lack of consistency is worrying, you know? Bao as well, he's got like a couple of swords and then a gun and a bow. I think, is Guildfall's a bow? I think it is, right?
No, Guildfall, yeah, it's a bow, sorry. Yeah. You're absolutely correct. As Keen just culls some people. Kingen's going to be able to put down his circle and he'll be absolutely fine as the rest of Afrika looking to continue the push. Kingen taken down quite low, a possible opportunity here as Pioshik has to ult. Oh no, that's a lot of their power missing. Chains of Corruption have been put on cooldown though, and the culling's not available just yet. King in, looking to take down Keen, but he has to move out of his circle and it's a bit too dangerous. Fly cops some needlework, but of course King can't proc the next one. He's too far away. This inhibitor down to 50%. Afrika slowly but surely just trying to lock this one down, and DRX just look like they don't really know how to answer this. Just taking poke over and over again as King in. Will clear out vision, but that is not the same as actually flanking. DRX, I mean, yes, they have made sure that Afrika have left. However, Afrika managed to take 2 inhibitors, so they're still going to be absolutely fine, and they've got Ocean Soul. So the more time they spend uncontested, the more time that they'll just head straight back up to 100% health.
I'm just super excited at the prospect of there being another like legitimately super strong, because this team
Red
is
could be in trouble, but no, flies there.
easily.
And yeah, no issue there at all. Shockwave not going to be able to find the mark as Q connects onto Pyoshik. Doesn't have ult, remember, but survives for so long. The flash out, and Dread's going to survive. You thought it was a whiff Shockwave, but in the end it's successful as Fly goes golden. There's the knockup from the Glacial Fissure. Solka uses his, but he is going to be taken down. Zonya's not enough. And DRX now limping towards their fountain. Keen, I think accidentally attacked a minion there, but Becca is just going to be given a free pass at this moment. It may not stop these Nexus turrets from just evaporating to the double 80 carries out of Afrika. King gets slowed down, another circle is in place, but Keen's very keen on getting into it. There's the kick into the fountain for Bao, who's now trying to find some rockets, but it ain't going to work. And that will be Afrika finding the 2-0 over DRX.
Afrika walking the line beautifully here, and I was...
oh, look, it's Spirit looking so dapper.
He's so happy as well.
Man, and also remember, he only just came up into the coaching position here for Afrika. I think was coaching the academy team, and is now coaching the main roster, and looking damn fun.
And this is exciting for all of us LCK fans, because while as a DRX fan you're not going to be happy with that, it feels like a lot of individual kind of underperformances. I think Pyoshik is a lot better than what we saw from him here today. I think the team as a whole just not really coming together, but both Afrika and KT take convincing wins here today.
Yeah.
And these are teams that we've often given all the praise for their highlight moments, but then when it doesn't go well, it just looks horrible, frankly. It looks inconsistent, it looks messy, and for both of these two teams to get 2 wins that are this clean and this consistent makes me really happy to... What are we going to see them do against the top teams, right? Because this was, I think, a problem that we had in spring.
Yeah, I think this is like one of those underdog stories, right? And I think the more of these that we have, and we've already had 3 pretty standout ones, right? With Fred Brion coming out swinging, and the LoL King Lava really popping off. Then, like you mentioned, KT taking the victory today over Damwon Kia. Certainly the biggest upset that we've had so far this season, which has only been a week long, so not exactly the most difficult. But there were other things in contention, and this sort of will go down as one of them. We do have to talk about the other side of the coin, though, which is a bit of an underperformance from Damwon Kia, as well as DRX making this crazy roster move, realizing it was the wrong choice, and then feeling like the momentum just wasn't there moving into this game number 2. Felt like it was obviously game number 2 was far more competitive, if not just a little bit slow. But still, it
You'd say so, yeah.
But still, it's just fantastic for Afrika to show us that they can play disciplined League of Legends in the late game. I think that was what both KT and Afrika showed us here today.
And I don't want to be too negative about Bang, because I don't feel like Bang was a player problem. It was more a... Sometimes replacing a player can change the dynamic in a team, and I feel like that's what's happened here, where putting Leo in this team has seemingly solved a lot of their issues. With
The Gwen Keen is just the best.
Keen in general is just the best. I'm pretty happy with that.
A little bit unfortunate that Afrika didn't take the Gwen. Was available until very late in the draft by Gwen's standards, which was, of course, I believe,